Well, greetings and salutations, everybody, on today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Hiroyuki Sanada has signed on for Season 2 of Shogun, which is officially the best news of the day. Paul Walter Hauser continues his hot streak. Him and Walton Goggins are doing a Press Your Luck. Remember that old video game, that old game show? They're doing a movie based on one of the craziest stories that came out of that show. Also, Fantastic Four has added John Malkovich, and they've also added Galactus. Welcome to the show today, guys. Of course, my name is John Campea. Good to have you guys here. Joining me in studio is Ray Ora.
Hey.
We got Jonathan Voico.
Howdy.
It's Friday, so the delightful Chris Carr is here.
Guys.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those topics that I just listed off. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. The super chats, oh, no, I'm wrong. They've already filled up and they're closed. All right, so
Wow.
for all of you who
you.
already sent in super chats, we'll get to those in the second half of the show there, shall we? All right, with any further ado, let's jump right into it with this. Easily, one of the best shows I have seen in years is the FX series Shogun. Based on the James Clavell novel, of course, in the 1980s, they did a mini-series about it with Richard Chamberlain. Loved that little mini-series, and I loved this show. Every week was a countdown for me, counting down to when the next episode would come out, and I loved every single minute. Now, of course, they covered the whole book in season 1. That was it. And it was officially a limited series, even submitted to the Television Academy as a limited series. The problem is the show is one of the best damn things that's ever been on TV. And people loved it. And people like me have been asking for a season 2. And it looks like we're going to get it from the folks over at Deadline. Shogun star Hiroyuki Sanada inks a deal to return for season 2 as the FX limited series contemplates an Emmy switch to drama since it's not a limited series anymore. They wrote this. Hiroyuki Sanada, star and producer of FX's formerly limited series, Shogun, has closed a deal to return as Lord Yoshi Toranaga, sources tell Deadline. Securing Sanada, whose character's journey to become Shogun and lead Japan to an era of peace was chronicled in the 10-episode adaptation of James Clavell's novel, has been considered crucial to any plan to extend Shogun beyond its original installment. Now, this is key because, I mean, a number of people put out the idea, well, what if you did a Shogun season 2, but it was like 50 years later or 100 years later? It's not, it was with all new characters and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, nah. You can't do this without Toranaga. You can't do this without Sanada playing Toranaga. And damn, you got to add Cosmo Jarvis in there too. It's got to be, Toranaga and Blackthorn. It's got to be the two of them. That's what it's got to be. And of course, there are the objections, but they finished the entire book. Yes, but the characters, when you look at where the characters end, by the end of episode 10, there's clearly more story you can tell. Now, almost as important as bringing back Hiroyuki Sanada to play Toranaga, I would say the next priority is getting the screenwriters back.
Absolutely.
You got to get those two back on because the way they fleshed out, even all the changes they made, just enhanced the show to me. So number one, you got to get your star and producer. They got them locked. Then they got to go through the process of changing their Emmy stuff from limited series to drama series. Every other drama series is now crapping their pants because there goes their chances at a few Emmys. And of course, you got to bring the writers back. So can you tell I'm a little bit excited about this? I'm just a wee bit excited about this. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this news. What do you think about it? Are you surprised they're doing this? What do you think?
I am surprised because everyone, to your point, was talking about how, it'll probably be an anthology. Right? Each season, we're going to American Horror Story this and have a very different version of where we are in Japan's history, a new cast of characters, that sort of thing. But keeping Hiroyuki Sanada on here is definitely the right move. This is an actor who has had so few losses, in my opinion, in his career.
Yeah.
He makes very smart strategic moves. He picks scripts out that are really, really wonderful. I don't care what any of you say. There is merit in 47 Ronin. There is. You just have to look for it. Same with the Wolverine. I stand by those films. So I think having him on board is great. And yeah, you have to have that same writing team because they nailed this. They took something, because I'm finally reading the book, that is a really hefty, lofty thing to adapt. I'd put it up with how you have to try to adapt, Game of Thrones or Three Body Problem. It's a really hard thing to put on screen, and they nailed it. So hopefully they'll be able to create that same magic for season 2.
the thing that this will become an issue again a little bit later, once we start getting close to Emmy season, is if they do indeed, and they're going to have to, move Shogun from the limited series category into best drama series category, that's going to shake things up a lot in the best drama race. Best actor drama, best actress drama, best supporting actor drama, best series, best writing. Like it's going to throw things up, but I love it. We're going to get more Shogun. How long it's going to take, I don't know. Probably a while, but I'm just excited it's going to come. What do you guys think about this? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You remember that TV game show? I think they might have revived it recently.
Yep, they did.
Called Press Your Luck.
Yeah.
Remember No Whammies, No Whammies, No Whammies? Well, while television game shows have been the source of some great drama, one of the biggest pieces of drama surrounding television game shows was back in the 1980s when a guy by the name of Michael Larson became a contestant on Press Your Luck. And here's the thing. The basics of Press Your Luck was this. The lights would go around the wheel and stuff like that, and the symbols would change, and then you'd hit the button to stop it. And if it landed on some money, you got some money. If it landed on a prize, you got some prize. And then you could spin again or stop spinning. The problem is, if you ever hit the button and it landed on the whammy, not only was your turn over, you lost everything you had. This guy did over 40 spins and won what was at the time a record over $100,000 before he stopped. The catch was they accused him of cheating. Turns out he sat at home for months studying the patterns of the way the lights would move around the board and realized there were only 5 patterns. And if you could identify the pattern and know when to hit the button, you could win. And so they called him a cheater.
It's like the King of Kong. He just knew all the patterns of Donkey Kong.
He just knew the patterns and knew when to hit the button. He got over $100,000. But then the TV show called him a cheater. They didn't want to pay him. But then he came to point out, there's nothing in your rules saying that I can't study the board.
Yeah.
There's no rule that says I can't look at it and figure. The only thing he was guilty of is studying.
Yeah.
That's it. So they had to give him his money.
Never
Anyway,
been guilty of that.
Yep.
Personally.
Unless you're counting cards in Vegas. Now, they're making a movie about this. And you ask anybody who follows movie news, who's the hottest actor in the last couple of weeks in Hollywood? It's Walter Hauser. It's Paul Walter Hauser. He's been announced in everything. He's in the new Naked Gun. He's going to be Chris Farley in the Chris Farley biopic. He just signed on to be in Fantastic Four. And now, according to the folks over at Deadline, he and Walton Goggins have joined on for this Press Your Luck movie based on this guy. They wrote the following. Paul Walter Hauser from Blackbird and Richard Jewell, by the way, Emmy winner, Paul Walter Hauser, will lead the cast of Press Your Luck, a pick based on the true story of an unemployed ice cream truck driver who won big in a 1980s game show. Set in 1984, the film follows Ohio resident Michael Larson, who steps onto the set of game show Press Your Luck, harboring a secret, the key to endless amounts of money. But his winning streak gets threatened when the executives in the control room start to uncover his real motivations. You can see a first look at the image above, which, by the way, how perfect does Paul Walter Hauser look as that guy? He looks perfect as that guy.
Did you guys ever watch that Perfect Bid with Price is Right? That documentary that was on Hulu, I believe.
Oh yeah, where the guy just knew.
Was like he studied the same way as this guy did, and I feel they didn't do anything wrong. It's the game show's fault.
You're educating yourself. It's fine.
It's the game show's fault.
And I think you can find that on YouTube, by the way. I think it's on YouTube.
If you put patterns in anything, any person can, figure it out. Like eventually, it's the same thing with video games. The older video games like Mario Brothers. There's only one way to do things, and they were doing things one way. So it probably smartened up a bunch of game shows.
Well,
too.
I mean, for Press Your Luck, once they had to hand over the $100,000+ check, the first thing they did was they went back and changed it from 5 patterns to 32 different patterns.
Yeah.
So nobody would be able to figure out fast enough which pattern was going on. So it caused them and others to make changes. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of a sucker for true stories about game shows. Mm-hmm. There's just something really interesting about this. And a guy, of course, the hottest guy in Hollywood right now, Paul Walter Hauser, with Walton Goggins. Sign me up. This sounds great. Chris, you heard about this. Did you ever watch This press
No.
your luck. And what do you think about this?
This is a little before my time because this happened in 1984, this
Yeah.
particular story. And I was just a twinkle in my papa's eye. I was not in existence yet. This, I think, is a great story to work off of, though, because the actual real life person here, he only spent 6 weeks studying before he realized there was this pattern, because with 18 numbers, you could only have those 6 different kind of potential jumbles there, right?
And by the way, it wasn't on YouTube. He had to do it with VHS tapes to rewind and fast forward. That's commitment.
Exactly. I love stuff that's set in the 1980s too. I just always love a period piece with big hair. It always just makes me happy on just a aesthetic level. I think this is a killer cast. Anytime Walton Goggins is in something, I am going to watch it. He just classes the joint up, to borrow from R&B. I love him so much. I think he's so stellar. And the other person I'm really excited about being in this cast, honestly, is Johnny Knoxville. I don't know if y'all watched that reboot show on Hulu. It sadly got canceled, and
I
thought
never
it
did
was-
see that.
I thought it was so delightful, and Johnny Knoxville really surprised me in that. He's also done some really great voice acting, and I'm excited to see more of him in these kinds of roles where he has the potential to be taken seriously. Because while Jackass is so fun, and I'm so glad it exists, he also has some real good acting chops, in my opinion. So I think this will be fun. And yeah, Paul looks amazing as this character. He's gonna kill it.
Quick question around. Also, for you guys watching home, throw it in the live chat. If you're, let me just go around the room. All-time favorite game show, and I'm not talking about reality. Don't put reality, like Survivor is not a game show, okay? But all-time favorite game show. Ray, what do you got?
I did. Obviously, it's Price is Right, but the I would say Pictionary. I think I liked when
Pictionary was good.
Yeah, I like the drawing stuff. That I can't really. I have to think about it more, but I think it was Pictionary, the one
All
I
right.
watched.
Jonathan, what about you?
I mean, I was never huge because like I just felt like my great aunts and my grandma always watched game shows like Wheel of Fortune and stuff, so I was never into it. But I ended up later on in my teens loving Win Ben Stein's Money.
Oh,
a
that
fun
was
one.
good.
Yeah.
That was good. With
Yeah, I think Jimmy Kimmel like hosted that too. I feel like.
no, Jimmy Kimmel, what he didn't host it, but he was a part. Yes,
Yeah.
he was a part of that show
Oh.
that he would go to.
Don't remember him being on that.
Oh, yeah, that
He was
one
like
was
his
really
go-to
good.
guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I used to watch that like all the time.
I remember I actually we had Ben Stein. Now, this was back when I was still doing the movie blog, but one of my first celebrity interviews was doing Ben Stein, which is pretty funny. What about you, Chris? You got a favorite game show?
Ooh, I mean, Price is Right, because you watch that when you're a kid and you're sick, right? That's like the best. You're like, yes, I got to
That
watch
has
Price
to
is
be.
Right. A friend of mine actually just won big on Price is Right, too. Shout out
congrats.
Nate. Yeah. He won a car and everything.
Wow.
But me and Jeopardy. I love Jeopardy.
Although I really
Jeopardy's
like
great.
Yeah.
way more dated than that, but because I watched reruns of it. But Hollywood Squares.
Oh yeah, that was
They're
great.
bringing
Fun.
that back.
Oh, that's
Did you
great.
see they're bringing it back, Hollywood Squares? They-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever watch one where they uncovered like pieces on a board, but then it's not only getting the matching pieces, but the board actually had like an equation of pictures, and they would have to get what it
You have
said.
to figure out what it was trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember seeing that. I can't
Match
remember what it
game
was.
or something like that. That was pretty good.
My favorite, though, even through the different host iterations, is Family Feud.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that
It was
one's
fun.
Especially
too.
with who's hosting it now.
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey.
Steve, he is great at hosting that show. Like Ann and I, a few months ago, we fell down this rabbit hole of finding funniest moments ever on game shows. And it's like, oh my God, Steve Harvey was so good. Yes. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We all live in, Paul Walter Hauser's world now. He's just going to be cast in everything. I'm sure he's going to show up in Game of Thrones at some point. What do you think? Did you used to watch this game show? What's your favorite game show? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Everybody, I've never met a person, and I'm sure there are some out there. I'm just saying I've never personally met them. Everybody I know likes John Malkovich. I've never met a single person who says, I don't like John Malkovich's acting. Again, I'm sure they're out there because it's all subjective, but never met that. But amongst his long, huge resume of acting accomplishments, I don't know why for me, but when I think of John Malkovich, I think of Rounders. Don't splash the pot. Give him his money. He beat me straight up. I love him and his horrible, horrible Russian accent. in Rounders. He's so good in it. I love it. It's my favorite thing of his.
Rounders gives me PTSD because I had a friend like him, just always getting in trouble. And you're like, my God, man.
Oh, like the Matt Damon character?
Yeah.
Oh, we've all had one of those. I might have family. I might have one of those in the room. I don't know. Just saying. So maybe he'll win $1 million off a Russian mobster too. So get ready for a marriage of a couple of your favorite things, because news broke yesterday just before we finished the John Campea show that, and this is in Variety, the Fantastic Four has added John Malkovich to it. This is what they wrote. They said John Malkovich has joined Marvel's The Fantastic Four in an undisclosed role. Variety has confirmed. Paul Walter Hauser is also in there, and his role is still unconfirmed.
Of course he is.
The veteran actor joins Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm as the Marvel's first family, along with Julia Garner as Shala Ball, a version of the Silver Surfer, and Paul Walter Hauser. So we've got like just a legendary, iconic actor. How legendary and iconic? How many actors in Hollywood have a movie with their name in the actual credits? Was it Being John Malkovich?
Yeah.
I mean, it's John Malkovich. Now, of course, this is going to bring up the conversations and the questions about who is he going to play. Some people are already guessing Doctor Doom. I don't think it'll be Doctor Doom. Then there were some of the names that we threw out there when Paul Walter Hauser got cast. You know, Mailman, Puppet Master, others like Mole Man. I honestly, here's what I think. I think he's going to be Sue and Johnny's dad. I think he's going to be, what's their dad's first name again in the comics? It's something. Oh, I forget the name of what their dad's name, what their dad's name is. Guys in the live chat, throw it in if you remember. Franklin. That's right, because that's what they named their kid after him, I think. So I'm thinking he's good, but that's just a guess. I don't have any insider information on that. I think it's just a guess. But man, they are rolling into adding some prestige into this now. This reminds me a little bit of back when they announced that Anthony Hopkins was joining Thor. Mm-hmm. Like it just brought a certain, I hate using this word, and you very rarely hear me say it, gravitas. It does bring a gravitas to it as well, which is just awesome.
I felt the same way with Robert Redford and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. This is a Marvel pattern,
really
right?
Gives like legitimacy to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in its early phases.
Michael Douglas is him.
Okay, I was going to say, look at the Marvel's pattern. So Anthony Hopkins, who did you just mention again?
Robert Redford.
Robert Redford, Sir Ben Kingsley, Michael Douglas. I mean, they do like enjoying taking these iconic Hollywood legends and then throwing them in their movies as well. And it just elevates.
Oh, yeah, Jeff Bridges. Well, how do we,
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah,
very
Jeff
first
Bridges.
What was the Michelle Pfeiffer? Was she in the Ant-Man?
Adding Michelle Pfeiffer in there, too. I mean, they just kind of do this. And so, look, I'm guessing Mr. Storm, but I honestly have no idea who John Malkovich, and at this point, I honestly don't care. I just love that he's going to be in there. Mm-hmm. And I hope he plays a Russian. I don't know why. I just want to hear him do his fake Russian accent again. Anyway, Chris, you hear about this? Surprise, not surprise? Do you have any guesses who he could be playing? What do you think?
He's Mephisto.
Every new actor
they're all
is Mephisto.
They all could be. I mean, my first thought was, gosh, he would be a crazy good Doom. Like, what a get for Doom. But I do think it is going to be that kind of more of a contemporary with Reed, so that they have that more of a rivalry between the two of each other, both as scientists, both as, paramours for Sue, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of him being the dad. It does follow that pattern. I think that's really nice. That could be very, very fun in here. But man, wouldn't it be fun if he was Herbie? If he's their little robot butler? I know I said it was going to be Paul Hauser, but I think that'd be really hilarious.
I want it.
It'd be very Alan Rickman in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
just very depressive robot.
Voice, oh my God, it'd be hilarious.
Okay,
so
him
funny.
as Herbie with the fake Russian accent. That's
there
it.
we go.
Now I'm on board.
That's the $1 million idea.
Don't splash the pot, Reed. Just so good. And look, and I wondered when I first heard this if this would start to change the narrative surrounding Fantastic Four, because despite the fact that a lot of us really love the casting at this point, there are still some people out there a little iffy on Fantastic Four. And I understand. Marvel's track record recently has been, to be nice, questionable, hit and miss, right? Fantastic Four is a legacy of failure on the screen. I mean, we've had 4 Fantastic Four movies, and all of them have ended up being bad, some worse than others. And some people, like, whenever you get casting in a big role, there's always going to be differences of opinion. Some people love the Pedro Pascal, and some people are wrong. So, I mean, you get all that. But I wondered when I heard about John Malkovich if it would start to change the temperature of the discourse a little bit. And from what I saw online yesterday, it did. It's like a casting like this can fundamentally just even change the way people look at the project. Now, again, adding John Malkovich does not ensure this is going to be a good movie.
No.
It could still end up being a piece of garbage. I mean, maybe it could. But it changes the way I think a lot of people think how it might turn out. So I don't know. I think this is really great and I'm excited about it. Question is for you. What do you think about this? John Malkovich is now the latest guy to be added to the Fantastic Four. Do you think we're going to get some more names coming up? Probably. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you have some theories about who he could be playing? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to the main event, shall we? You know, as soon as they mention Fantastic Four, obviously the first name that people want to talk about is Doctor Doom. Get that? But very close second is, are we getting Galactus? I personally think in a live action environment, Galactus is a ridiculous idea. A guy who goes around and eats planets. You can't have good character interaction with that. You can't have, what Ben Grimm going to go up and punch him in the nose? But be that as may, awesome comic book character. The way they use Galactus in the comics is iconic and fantastic. But a lot of people thought they would be doing Galactus. I admittedly did not think they would do Galactus. At least not yet. But I did not think, if you had asked me last week, put $5 on it, do I think they'll do Galactus in the first Fantastic Four? I would have said no. Well, I'd be out $5. Because according to the Hollywood Reporter, Fantastic Four cast Ralph Ineson as Galactus. The actor, known for genre work such as The Witch and Game of Thrones, is in talks to play a very big bad for Marvel. By the way, he was also in a number of the Harry Potter films. He was in The Creator recently. But The Witch is where I fell in love with the dude's acting. I loved him in The Witch. Robert Eggers, very underrated film. I don't know why some people don't like it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the dude has the voice. I never thought of him. Never thought of him when we were fan IDing Galactus. But as soon as they said his name, I'm like, yeah, that's the voice. This is what the Hollywood Reporter has to say. The Fantastic Four, meet your villain. Ralph Ineson, the British actor whose 3-decade career ranges from Harry Potter movies to recent horror prequel, The First Omen, which I think Rob likes a lot, has landed the plum part of Galactus, the antagonist, in Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four. The high-profile, big-budget outing, The Fantastic Four's first under the Marvel Cinematic Universe umbrella, has been casting up in recent weeks ahead of a planned mid-summer shoot in England. So, in Fantastic Four news, we got John Malkovich joined, and then we found out we are number one getting Galactus, and assuming he's not going to put on a big costume with a Cuisinart on his head, the guy who will be maybe mocapping and voicing Galactus, and I like everything I'm hearing. Listen, I trust Kevin Feige. I do. I'm not going to lie. I am still a little iffy on the idea of using Galactus. I'm still a little bit at a loss as how do you bring, to borrow a phrase of Rob's, any verisimilitude to a Fantastic Four when their antagonist is somebody who eats planets? What does the Fantastic Four do? Well, John, in the comics, I get that, but things play differently on a comic page than a screen. But if you are going to do Galactus, man, they knocked it out of the park with the guy to be him. Anyway, Chris, you saw about this. What do you think about, number one, the fact that we were even getting Galactus in the first one? Did you think they would? What do you think about the casting choice? Your thoughts?
I didn't think we would start with Galactus. I'm going to be honest. I thought we were going to build to that. And I know we talked about this last week too, was this is a character that does need to be a voiced character, probably not actually physically on screen, much like a Dormammu, and that voice is so important. So when this name first came out, it was Finchy from The Office. I don't really remember him from Harry Potter. Gosh, what has he done? And then I realized that in Final Fantasy 16, he is Sid. He is the voice of Sid. And boy, howdy, is that a great voice. He has such a wonderful timbre. He has such texture in his voice. He's so good. That character is incredible. I could talk about it all day. And so knowing that performance, because obviously I don't watch a lot of horror, guys, so I'm not familiar with him in The Witch. I need to see it. But I think he is going to just be
you
such...
should probably not watch The Witch.
Jonathan, we were just talking about it. He thinks I can handle it.
It's not slasher.
I
Because
hope
it's
you
not
don't.
slasher.
Yeah, it's not a slasher. No eye violence.
Yeah, no eye violence, no things like that.
There's a goat, but you know.
Yeah.
There's a goat, but that's funny.
They pee on each other's faces. You know, what happens to a goat happens to a goat. But
That's half of Hollywood. So
that's true. So I think an actor like him who has that rich voice and such an incredible background in all kinds of different mediums of acting is really going to deliver a cool performance for this character.
So here's my worry about a Galactus. To me, somebody in the live chat brought up Unicron in Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Says, oh, John, they made it work. No, that's a perfect example of why it doesn't work for me. Because Unicron in Rise of the Beasts isn't a character. He's a consequence. Unicron is the consequence. You know, Optimus had the other guy, even forget, but this is kind of how forgettable Rise of the Beast was. But the main antagonist in the movie was another...
Scourge.
Scourge?
Scourge, sorry.
And that was the main antagonist. Unicron was the consequence. And that's how I fear Galactus will be. And Galactus isn't a character in it. He's a consequence. He's the earthquake that's coming. He's the tidal wave that's coming. So, but again, I will trust,
Matt Shackman.
I will trust Matt and Kevin Feige and all that kind of stuff. Now, Dominic Ray in the live chat is saying, John, you forgot about Arsham. Arsham, again, in that movie, was a consequence. He wasn't the main thing they had to fight, right? That was Rob Snow, or Rob Stark. That ended up being the main thing they really had to fight, and it was all about Arsham talking, and we're going to hatch this thing out of the planet. They were really more the consequence than anything else. So I hope they can find a way to make Galactus not just this impending consequence that's coming, but rather truly find a way to make him a real character in the movie. And if they can, hats off. And there's anybody who can do it, it's going to be these guys. Again, I trust Matt. Matt, of course, did such a marvelous job on WandaVision. Mm-hmm. And what he was able to do with bringing characters to life and really make them feel, fantastic and grab our attention and grab our empathy and all that kind of stuff. If he can do that in Fantastic Four, man, he's going to vault himself to legendary status. And here's why. Because others have tried. We have had decades of them trying to make Fantastic Four movies. We've had different iterations of Fantastic Four movies. And they've all failed, depending on your definition of failure. And if Matt Shackman, all I can think about whenever I say his name is Margot Robbie's husband in the Saturday Night Live skit.
Oh, yeah, Matt Shack.
Matt Shack. You married a Kennedy, and you put a shat on it. But Matt Shackman, he's going to be able to do it. Kevin Feige, so we'll see how it all turns out. I don't know, like, Ray, you like the idea of Galactus? I think you were kind of happy about this when you heard it.
I didn't think they were going to announce, or he was going to come into that early, like Chris. What's funny is that we've got all the announcements except Doom so far, as we know, right?
Yeah, the Doom's the one guy we're waiting on.
Maybe he's the one that's going to be left out of this first film. But I think if they're going to go Galactus, I think they're really trying to win over a lot of people who've been disappointed by all the Me, I'm not even looking forward to this movie. The only thing that I'm looking forward to is Pedro Pascal, really.
I was
just seeing him
honest.
in the MCU.
Right.
But like I just believe that the Fantastic Four has always been a little boring to me. They need to get in on the space aspect. For me, this is just for me personally. The space aspect, and make me care about their family, as in their bond together. That's the only way this actual comic book franchise will actually get me to care. Because if I don't see them as being like, oh, the brother's looking out for the sister, plus with all that sciencey stuff in the middle of it, then there's nothing there for me to even like or even be interested.
They go to space, maybe.
I feel like for you, based on like how much you love Nova and some of those other characters and like a young Spider-Man, I think this iteration of Johnny Storm might really vibe with you if he is that young, cocky, hot-headed kid, and especially because it's Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things. So I think that might be maybe a nugget to get you in there.
I mean, I'm not dumb. I'm with everyone. That I'm going to be there opening night.
Now, look.
But they got to get me after this movie if I really care about seeing them afterwards. Because all the other Fantastic Fours, I didn't need all those movies.
No, nobody did. Nobody did. So there's some debate and discussion going on in the live chat about whether or not like Doctor Doom needs to be there. I think you got to have You have to have at least Victor in the first film. He doesn't necessarily have to be the ruler of Latveria at this point. He doesn't necessarily need to be whatever, but I don't know that you can do this without Victor at least being there.
We've only got one Easter egg from him so far in this MCU, right? In Moon Knight, wasn't there an Easter egg?
Well, there was something
where
some people thought the ice cream truck, or something like that. I don't even think that was an Easter egg.
That was fan service then.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm not even sure it was a legit thing. I don't even know if it was really an Easter egg or people just interpreted it as that, but we'll see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It is a big day, or at least a big 24-hour period for Fantastic Four news. The John Malkovich thing, which we already previously discussed, and now confirmation. We've got Doctor Doom. We've got Galactus with Ralph Ineson going to be in there with his incredible voice. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Has this moved the needle for you on the Fantastic Four project? I'm getting more and more excited about it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a second to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile, and the good folks at BetterHelp. We want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. My favorite spring cleaning takeaway is the post-clean clarity you get. Wow, how have I been living like this? It's kind of like when you find out that you've been paying a fortune for wireless when Mint Mobile has phone plans for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. My last mobile service provider was quite good, but ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've enjoyed even better coverage, better phone clarity, and I'm paying less than a third of what I paid to my old provider. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Listen, we all carry around different stressors, big and small. When we keep them bottled up, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever is weighing on you. I've said for a long time, it's time for us to start prioritizing mental health as much as we prioritize physical health. You know, we encourage each other when we go to the gym to take care of ourselves physically. Well, it's time we start encouraging each other to take care of ourselves mentally as well. So if you're thinking about taking that step and prioritizing your mental health, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile and BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what are we starting off with first?
All right, real quick, because Laura just sent me this text, but Sam Rubin, from KTLA, he does the entertainment stuff. He does all the red carpets and interviews. He passed away today from a heart attack.
No.
Oh my gosh.
He was 64.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry to
I know
hear
that
about
we've
that.
not necessarily worked directly with him, but we've worked with people who have worked with him. and-
Yeah.
Yeah, we've worked with several people who've worked closely
Yeah.
with him.
So
Oh, I'm
he
so
just
sorry
passed
to
away
hear
today.
about
He's
that.
such a
64.
staple, too. Gosh.
All right. But anyway, now, just want to call attention to that. But James Germain says, hey guys, so from smothering a guy to death to drop a man from a skyscraper impaling a man with claws, I'm getting that X-Men 97 ain't for kids. Well,
Yeah,
Grow up. Let your kids watch The Impaling.
Yeah, I mean, they do push it a little bit. Like X-Men 97 is pushing it a little bit more than the original X-Men series did. And you know what? It's up to every individual set of parents to decide what is okay for their kids to watch and not. And it's the job. Look, you know what? I've never heard Marvel or Disney Plus advertise X-Men 97 as for children. I've never said, hey, this is for kids, everybody. So it's up for every parent to decide if it's something they want their kids to watch or not. And by the way, just a side note, of course, people who are not parents always give the best parenting advice. But I would suggest you should be monitoring and watching anything first before you let your kid watch it. That's just me.
Yeah.
So like if you plop them down in front of a Deadpool movie, go, well, this is a comic book movie. It should be fine. And your kid starts come to you and asking you what's pegging. That's on you. So with X-Men 97, yeah, it's not exactly targeted at kids.
dude,
You should talk to your kids about pegging, though. Get them to know what they're up against.
Yeah,
please,
they got to know what's
please don't-
going on out there.
Don't take that
You know what?
advice, please. But also,
don't have kids.
I am going to come with a little bit of judgment because there was one time I was at Kill Bill, and the animated sequence where it goes
Yes.
into this couple brought their little kid, and she literally started crying during that animated thing. I'm like, hey, your kid's sending you a message. Maybe stop shushing her and get the F out.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But anyway.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it goes back to this constant discussion we have with animation, too. It's a medium. It's a medium. It's not
Yep.
a genre. It
Just
doesn't
because
mean
it's
it's made
animated
for
does
kids.
not mean it's for kids.
And that show very much is made for the audience that watched it in the 90s and has grown with us of, oh, yeah, we do want some more intense violence. We do want some of these comic book stories. We want to talk about the, existential crises that appear in these.
All right, what's next?
We got Sanchez guy. Hey guys, Dr. Seuss? Yep. Well, what are your favorite Dr. Seuss books? Mine is Green Eggs and Ham.
All due respect to fans of Lorax or Cat in the Hat or what, it's The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. I mean, God, I love that one so much. I still do. It's the one that's got a really good, true moral of the story too. But anyway, I love that. Any of you guys have a favorite Dr. Seuss book?
I was going to say Lorax, but man,
All due respect to Lorax. Lorax is great. I'm not
I love
dissing
that
on
one.
Lorax.
I love that one.
When I was a kid, I really always watched, and I guess this isn't Dr. Seuss, but it's along this
Yes.
Go Dog Go. I read this thing over and over. I loved how they all ended up in a giant treehouse at the
Oh,
end.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those stories that I memorized as a little kid to make my parents think I learned how to read.
Make them think it. All right, what's next?
All right. Let me scroll down here. Sam Fisher says, John Malkovich is playing Mole Man. How do I know an actor weird enough to make being John Malkovich is weird enough to ask to be Mole Man?
Listen, John, you could say anything. John Malkovich could be it. I mean, he is a chameleon. He's playing chameleon. No, he could play anything. I mean, yeah. Guess what? If they announced tomorrow he's playing Mole Man, I would be a little surprised, but not shocked because he could do it. All right, what's next?
All right. We got a $20 super chat from Damaris Love.
Thank you, Damaris.
Scroll down a little bit. With John Malkovich added, do you think they will have him in the role of a Skrull who warns the Fantastic Four about Galactus? Also, best movie of his with the line, hey Malkovich, think fast, chucks a beer.
A beer
Oh,
can
yeah,
at him.
it's when they throw the beer can at his head.
Wow, that's a rather specific question about, do you think he could play a Skull? Who warns of it? All I know is this. For many years now, whenever there's a casting of anybody in an MCU movie, the question about them possibly being a Skrull usually comes up. I mean, it's possible he could be a Skrull, I guess. I wouldn't bet on it, especially with the total and utter failure of the Nick Fury show, I don't know if they'll be all that keen to jump right back into prominent Skrull characters again. They kind of, man, that show failed on so many levels, and it actually did harm. Like, it's not the worst show they've made, but it's a show that actually did harm to ongoing things they've got going. Like, She-Hulk ended up being a miserable failure, but it didn't affect anything else. Like, She-Hulk was She-Hulk, and despite the fact, and it had its moments. She-Hulk had its moments, it really did, but its failure is very self-contained. It doesn't really affect anything outside of it. The Nick Fury thing, that show did damage, I think, to a lot of stuff, including these other characters they have in their universe of Skrulls, and I just don't know that they'll be keen to get back to it. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying I wonder if they will. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got CJ Rebirth, who says, I'd have to rank Kingdom at number 4 behind War, Rise, and Dawn. Love the score, visuals, Noah, Proximus, etc., but I just hated Forever 21 Girl once it ended.
I thought she was great. And I remember I went to go see it for a second time yesterday, and Anne watched it with me. That girl was her favorite part of the movie. Now, the one thing that I do contemplate and wonder about, it's like, man, for this future that they're in, there are just no skin blemishes in the future. Like, they have perfect skin and teeth.
They're not eating processed food.
I think that's it. Like, not so much as a blackhead on any of these people, this girl and the other humans that we see, like, just perfect teeth, perfect skin. But listen, I liked it even more the second time I watched it. I still have it where I have it, though. Dawn, to me, is the best film they've done in this. You know, Jeremy, I've always struggled with what to call, like, the most recent films. Jeremy Johns, I saw him refer to it as the Caesar saga. I like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I like that. So in this Caesar saga, I still put Dawn at number 1, but yeah, I put Kingdom at number 2. I just love the themes of it, about, like, what we talked about the other day, like how, like, you have the true teachings of Caesar, and then you have people who took it and mutilated the teachings of Caesar for their own political power. And I thought Proximus was an amazing character. If you guys haven't seen it, look up on YouTube, Kevin Durand on Good Morning America. Go look it up. He actually does his Proximus. He moves like him and does his voice. It's so good. All right, what's next?
All right, DJ says, today I attempt to fix my questions from 2 days ago. Also, my handle used to be the Black Knight. I used to flood open mic back in the day. Do you remember a Black Knight on open mic?
I do remember Black Knight on open mic.
That was him.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Before his DJ days.
It is funny to me. I had somebody else, actually, it wasn't in the last couple of weeks, but it might have been a month or two ago. Somebody else wrote into me, and it's like, oh, by the way, for the longest time, my name on the channel was blank. And I'm like, oh my, like, you've been around since I started. Like, it's always amazing to me finding these people who have been around and following the show for so long. So thank you for that, man.
The twist to that story is, the reason why I had to change my name is because you banned me, John. I'm just playing.
Just because I had some opinions about people of other colors. All right, what's next?
Raymond Verada says, wow, MCU rolling out the castings with Malkovich, Walter Hauser, and new Ineson as Galactus. I hope the roles are for comic villain types, not more Martin Freeman, Julie Dreyfus, talkie roles. Yeah, no more talkie.
Yeah.
That's what the problem is with pictures these days. So much talking.
I disagree with you. I disagree completely. Because those talkie roles flesh out story.
Oh, you love the talkie roles.
They flesh out story. Like, was Freeman's role in Civil War and Black Panther the most important role? No, but it's one of those roles that are building blocks to an overall structure that, if done right, really add to a movie and to a story. And so I am personally, like, I agree, they're smashing it with their castings right now, but I am perfectly good if it's like a Louis Dreyfus role, or if it's a Freeman role. I will be perfectly happy with that if they're good characters and they add to the story, and even if they're just building block things, I'm totally good with it personally. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got DJ's back. The actor who plays Foggy on Daredevil, Fulton, and Mighty Ducks, I thought was Jesse Plemons, but is not. Does anyone else see the resemblance? A little bit. Maybe
Here's the weird thing.
cousins.
It's not a resemblance, but they have the same look. They're not lookalikes, but they have the same look.
Yeah.
And so I totally get he has a Jesse Plemons kind of look. Absolutely.
And thank you for having me look that up. In my Google search, I have Mighty Ducks and what's his name? Whatever he missed.
The guy who plays Foggy.
Jesse
And
Plemons.
nothing was coming up. I was clicking on every link just to see, because some of them give a description and have both things. Nothing was connected, and I was like, "What is this guy talking about?"
All right, what's next?
Daniel Vasquez says, "Hey Chris, that's you.
Hi.
I had a great time at Comic-Con last month, and I guess that's Comic-Con CC, seeing John Ray, Ann Taylor, and
CinemaCon.
CinemaCon, yeah. That was only a month ago. Wow. Sorry you couldn't make it. Hope to see you guys again next year."
Thanks, Daniel. I remember hanging out with you at the last one, so I appreciate that. I know you met my friend Tiffany there too, which is lovely. I'm going to be really honest. CinemaCon very much overwhelms me. I'm really bad at tight spaces
It is an
and
overwhelming
crowds.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And people often think that that's weird because I'm very outgoing. It has nothing to do with being around people. It has to do with being around masses of people and not knowing where an exit is.
So Comic-Con on a Saturday probably
Comic-Con
isn't the
really
best.
freaks me out too, and I'm emotionally getting ready for this year.
I will say, Chris, we did hit all the parties this year.
You did?
Yeah, you know how usually we skip most of them
Yeah.
whenever we went. This year, John made a change to actually go see what's going on.
He was like,
And we
"There's no
did.
Chrissy
And some of
in the
the
theater
food-
this time."
Some of the food was really good. So
Okay, and I'll tell you what else.
Yeah.
Anne kind of forced us to discover something I have never gone
yes.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing.
the exhibit floor.
Oh, it's so fun.
Dude,
Forget
free ice
fun.
cream?
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah.
Food. Anne took me down to the
Food is fun.
exhibit floor for the first time. And it's like they had these freezers full of every kind of ice cream. They're like,
Not baby ice cream.
not
the one-
only did they say take
give you
whatever you
ones.
want, they said, "Do you want some bags to take a bunch back
Yep.
to your room?" It's like, well, it will melt. And then like
Not if you eat
hot dogs and like nachos and even Slurpee machines and
That
all
might
the
be better
soda
than
you want.
some
Like,
Yeah.
oh my
That's
God.
where I kept going to go get free alcoholic slushies. Where I was like, "There's frozen rum and Coke."
Did AMC
for
have their
free.
chicken tendies?
No.
Not when
No,
I went.
man.
That
It
would
was
have been beautiful.
smaller vendors.
That would have been
Yeah,
great.
It
yeah.
was food vendors.
Yeah.
So like I probably like look, a ticket to CinemaCon is like $1,300.
Yeah.
I ate almost $1,300 in ice cream.
Oh, yeah. And then we did see some of the merchandise for the Deadpool Wolverine
Oh, cool.
the first day, but the rest of the time,
Yeah.
They took it
it
away.
was taken off the
Yep,
shelf.
they took it away. All right, what's next?
Matan says, "Hey Chris, I had a great." Oh no, sorry.
Oh.
This ain't about Chris.
Oh.
All right, Matan says the reports of the imploding of Xbox say that stems from Satya Nadella taking autonomy from Phil Spencer after the Activision Blizzard deal, like how Chapek did with Feige. What a mess.
I'm not aware of an implosion.
I'm not aware of it either. I'm not aware of what's been happening with Xbox. I've been playing the Switch.
You switching it up.
You
I
you
love the
grabbed the
Switch.
Switch. You've been playing the Switch.
Yeah.
I got to pick up my Switch again. I adore the Switch. Again, I have not followed any drama with Xbox. I haven't heard about it imploding or anything like that, so I don't know.
Xbox might not be around soon, but I still always love the Xbox. The only thing I've heard was there was layoffs recently, and
Well, there was
I'm
a
sorry-
merger recently too, so that
Yeah,
normally
so I'm
leads
sorry
to
to
layoffs.
anybody who's been affected by that, but I haven't heard anything.
I like my PS5.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Miguel says with a 28 Canadian super chat.
Thank you, man, for that $4.
I read that change isn't that bad.
Exchange rate is not that bad.
No.
Wow, you knew it like
I-
that.
I've
It
read.
was not a joke about Miguel. It's a joke about the exchange rate. That's what I'm saying. All right, what's
All right.
next? Keep
I-
going. What does
I-
he say?
I've read that Bardem and Banderas are the other choices for Galactus, or were the other choices for Galactus, but couldn't struck a deal due to money. Now I want those two in X-Men as they're my fan cast for Sinister and Apocalypse, respectively. Thoughts? Thank you.
I can tell you that Javier Bardem was very much in the running for Galactus.
Ooh, he would have been good.
Yeah, I think they got somebody. I'm not saying Ineson is a
Java.
better actor than Bardem. I'm not saying that, but
Sure.
I think they got somebody who's an even better fit for that than anybody else. I love Banderas and I love Bardem. I don't see either of them as sinister. You know what?
Well,
You know what? You know who I could see as a sinister? And I don't know why, sticking with the letter B, Benicio del Toro would be a really interesting sinister.
That's in the first name, though.
It's not a last name letter B. I just said letter B. Stick with the letter B.
I really like this from the chat. Ragu says Tom Ellis for Mr. Sinister. Good old Lucifer.
Oh.
Book it.
That's nice.
Book that. That's awesome. Because as far as I know, Tom
I don't
Ellis
know how to
right
book
now
something.
is 4 days away from asking if you want fries with that shake. Because he's been doing.
I hope not. I love him.
I love him. I
think
think
he was
he's
under-
amazing.
He was at the exhibitor floor. I think he gave me my hot dog sample.
Give me my hot dog. But he really hasn't been doing anything since Lucifer, and I love him.
Just collecting them residuals, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Him as Mr. Sinister? Oh yeah, somebody pointed out you couldn't have him as Sinister because he was already the collector in the
Yeah.
MCU. Yep, good point, good point.
Well, ruined it, whoever made that point.
But oh my God, Tom Ellis, Lucifer, I love it.
That'd be
I
fun.
absolutely love it. All right, what's next?
DJ says, reminder set up for the next question. I say MCU is the GOAT because what it has done is most unlikely to be repeated. You say Lord of the Rings for different things.
Like quality?
He might
Like
be
quality?
talking
No,
about the
when we're
10-year
talking about GOAT, we're talking about quality. Listen, everybody knows I'm a huge MCU fan. Huge MCU fan. Massive. And of course, it's an art, so it's subjective. So everybody's going to have their own way of looking at it. There is no comparing the quality level of the MCU, which I think is great, and I love the MCU. Well, a lot of it, to the Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's night and day. It's not close. It's not close. And I think somebody saw, but yeah, it did something that, okay, yeah, but so did Madam Web. Madam Web did things no other movie did. That does not make it the GOAT. Lord of the Rings, I mean, first of all, Star Wars is the GOAT, but in the conversation between Lord of the Rings and the MCU, if you're talking about the quality of the movies, it's Lord of the Rings. Again, everybody's going to have their own opinion. You're not wrong.
I like the way you guys debate about things that you like. Like, if you like them all, you like
I
them
mean,
all.
they're all winners to me. They're all great.
We're all intaking greatness. Like,
You
with
almost said we all the
of us.
same. I know it. I know that.
We all the same.
All right, what's next?
Juliana Goodwin says, thoughts on Office Space and Burn After Reading.
Ooh.
I ended up liking Burn After Reading, I think, more than most people. Like, I didn't think it was like a top 5.
What is that? I've never heard of it.
So it's Brad Pitt is in it, which is
He's great in
has
it.
this fitness guy. Oh my God.
Yeah, but that was a real bummer scene, man. I was like, what the hell?
yes,
It
yes, it
takes a
was.
turn where you go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember who made this movie.
Yeah,
Who made this movie?
The Coen brothers.
the Coen Brothers.
Oh, crap.
You know what? It reminds me a lot of a very. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the Coen Brothers who also did this one, although I could be wrong. The Tom Hanks one, with J.K. Simmons, Tom Hanks, where he's like Colonel Sanders in a way.
Oh, yeah, the
Lady Killers? Yes.
Yeah.
Was that the Coen Brothers too? I
Yes,
think it was. Yeah.
I believe so.
A lot of people didn't like Lady Killers. I did. I kind of have Burn After Reading and Lady Killers kind of in that thing where a lot of people don't really talk about it, maybe didn't like it. I appreciated both of them. But what was the other thing he was asking?
I think was
Office Space.
Yeah.
Office Space is an all-time classic.
It's amazing. Mike Judge, come on.
I'm good. I'm gonna burn the building. That movie is iconic. Like, that's
Those two
pure iconic.
And it was only in theaters for like 2 weeks.
And
Yeah.
and I often talk about the top 10 moments in a movie that made me laugh the hardest. And obviously there's always Spaceballs, now Lone Star, you see Evil always trying blah, blah, blah. One of them, I'm not saying it's a good joke. I'm just saying when it happened, I was so unprepared for it. I laughed myself sick. But he's sitting down in his living room with his next door neighbor. They're talking about what would you do if you win $1 million? And he turns to his neighbor and goes, what would you do if you won $1 million? Pause. 2 chicks at once. And I don't know why, but I lost my mind.
Pretty sure you can do that even without $1 million.
I love Office Space, man. The whole destroying the printer scene, and there's just so many iconic moments. It's so good. All right, what's next?
Okay. So DJ says this was the previous was set up for this. Out of all the debates on the show, who has put up the best case? Ray for Terminal Crew, Batman Beyond, me, MCU versus Lord of the Rings.
Well, there is no debate with MCU versus Lord of the Rings.
Sorry, DJ.
That makes us all
say
master
maybe
debaters.
the Batman Beyond situation.
Team effort. Team
Yeah.
effort, guys.
The Batman Beyond situation.
Good job, us.
He
I'll give
knows
him that.
Yeah.
He knows that part in the Batman was cool when he had that eyepiece in that bar.
But
Because
that was not Batman Beyond.
that would be what we would see in Batman Beyond. That's
So Batman becomes Iron Man. Got it. Yes.
why does everything have to become Iron Man?
You're obsessed with Iron Man.
That's my question. Why does everything have to become Iron Man? I'm just saying. All right, what's next?
We got Miguel Zayen. Let me scroll here. People have been saying Malkovich is playing some ridiculous villains. I think he's just going to play the father of Sue and John. Frankly,
Dang.
thoughts.
Yeah.
You wrote in, John. Cool.
I agree. I think now, but listen, I'm not saying I put money on that. He could be a villain. He could be an ally. Hell, he might just be Reed's professor. You know, the one who taught Reed all he knows, or something like one of these kind of characters. So I don't really know, or maybe villain. But listen, we're getting loaded up here on villains now. We got a version of the Silver Surfer. We got Galactus. We'll probably have Victor in there somewhere, but I don't think he's going to be the main antagonist. It might be getting filled on villains.
If you add Doom, I think this is just the first and the last Fantastic Four movie we're gonna get, because they're gonna kill him.
So
All those villains will kill this family.
oh yeah, with Galactus and Doom and Silver Surfer all teaming up. Yeah, they would probably win. All right, what's next?
All right, DJ has a two-parter and says, you often tell the Superman Returns costume change question story, and I agree with your stance, but I do think this was the first time the question was valid, because Ralph was supposed to be a continuation of Reeves Superman retconning movies 3 and 4.
It doesn't matter. Iron Man 1 to Iron Man 2, the outfit's different. Black Panther 1 to Black Panther 2, the thing's different. Even with the same actors in a lot of comic book movies. From movie 1, how many different Captain America costumes did Chris Evans wear during his time in the MCU? In the comics themselves, the costumes are always changing from thing to thing. So even if, in theory, it wasn't canonical, it was, in theory, Ralph's Superman movie was like, imagine that this is a continuation of the Christopher Reeve, but it wasn't really canonical. But even if it was, the same actor playing the same hero often goes through 3 or 4 or 5 different iterations of the costume. So even then, it's kind of a moot point to ask, because even in the comics, they're constantly changing. And they are constantly changing in the movies as well. So that's why it never really bothered me at all. By the way, I still think Brandon Routh's Superman movie, Superman Returns, is a really good movie. This is the way I describe it. That is a really good movie. That's not necessarily a very good comic book movie.
Sure.
Like it really, more than any other Superman movie, it examines the nature of the God man trying to find who he is in a world of mortals. And that's what it is. How do you fit in? How do you find your place in that world? And I thought it did a really good at that, except if you're going to do a Superman movie, his only fight can't be about a falling airplane. Fight a mountain.
It really should have been called Superman Lifts Things.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. Superman lifts things, the movie. Yeah.
Well, I feel like the Lois and the kid aspect of it were the things that
Was
threw me
weird.
off. Of this doesn't feel like Lois Lane.
And who's the girl who played Lois? Kate
Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth, who
Who
I
is
really,
great.
I love her. I think she's
I'd
great.
like her to do more things.
But that was a massive miscast.
Yeah.
I think she's wonderful. Massive miscast, though.
the writing of it just was a little off for her too.
Yeah.
Just I don't know if that's Lois. Oh,
All right.
motherhood changes you.
What's next?
Raymond says, what if John Malkovich is Nathaniel Richards?
The dad. Yeah. Yeah. Well, then that's one of my guess. That's my guess as well. All right. What's next?
I don't know. What if?
Nathaniel
so-
though is a kid of theirs from the future, isn't
Nathaniel's from the future?
Oh, he's
he?
the
I
oldest
thought.
baby?
Or hold on, am I getting that
Well,
wrong?
well, Franklin is the
Franklin's
dad.
the dad.
Franklin's the dad. He's
Yeah.
also Reed and Sue's son, who's like a ridiculous Omega level mutant.
Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me. He's Reed Richards' father. Excuse me.
So
Okay.
it is Nathaniel, and
Yeah.
Franklin's not named after
Okay,
him?
so we're thinking whether
So
he
there's
might be Sue and
Reed's dad
Johnny's
versus
dad.
Sue and
versus
Johnny's.
Reed. Okay, there we go. Yes.
Oh.
All right,
I
Yes.
think.
what's next?
He's gonna be a dad somehow.
Yeah. Raymond, no, Sora fan says, wanted to thank you all so much for encouraging me to start my own podcast with some friends called the Milkman Podcast. You're my muse, my flame.
First of all, good on you for doing that. I honestly think, and I believe this entirely, that all movie fans should get more involved in their fandom by having a little blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel. And it doesn't matter if you have 5 people reading, watching, or listening, or 500 people reading, watching, and listening, because it's just a great way for us as fans to engage more with the object of our fandom and to contribute to the overall fan community. And I think it's awesome that you're doing that. So good on you. All right, what's next?
We got Dalvin, who says, The Age of Adeline was a nice little movie. It was nice to see Harrison Ford in that type of role. I can watch The Fugitive anytime it's on. Thoughts on Ford as Thunderbolt Ross?
Well, first of all, The Fugitive, there's a number of movies that are like considered great movies that I find a lot of the newer, like say 25 and under, the newer generation movie fans haven't watched. One of those is The Fugitive. It holds up. The Fugitive is a fantastic movie, and you should go and see that. And I think it's going to be a great Thunderbolt Ross. And we got to see some footage of him as Thunderbolt Ross at CinemaCon, and I think everybody's really going to like him as Thunderbolt Ross. I really do. All right, what's next?
All right. Dildar the Glorious.
The glorious.
The glorious.
Says, saw Apes yesterday. It was incredible. This new trilogy is off to a great start. 0 out of 10 for lack of feces of throwing.
No, like that's of course a thing some monkeys do is they throw poop at you. I'm personally glad they left the poop throwing out of the movie.
These are refined
yeah,
simians.
more refined. I gotta tell you, man, like I said earlier, I've seen the movie twice now, and I liked it even more the second time. And I don't know what they're going to do with it now because Wes Ball is now moving on to do a live action Legend of Zelda movie. So are they going to wait for him to do the next Apes movie, or will they move on to another director? I don't know, but I just really, really enjoyed this film. I thought it was great. All right, what's next?
Jedediah Elias says, Warner Brothers put a copyright strike on the Gollum fan film you were talking about yesterday, then took it off after audience demand. Your thoughts on this?
I have an unpopular opinion about stuff like this. I'm a big fan of fan films. I've made a fan film myself. But at the end of the day, let's say you had a bike and somebody stole your bike.
That happened to me once.
Should people be mad if you found out who stole it and you took your bike back? Should people be mad at you? I mean, look, the reality is there are copyrights of intellectual property. And when you own those copyrights, you need to protect your intellectual property. And any fan films that get made and are allowed to live online, that's kind of at the kindness of the IP holders. I honestly have no problem if somebody who owns an intellectual property and owns copyright and somebody else is violating your copyright. I have no problem with them enforcing their copyright and saying, these characters, this stuff, this does not belong to you. We need to protect it because if people see your shit and then associate it with what we're doing, that can be negative for us and all that kind of stuff. Just ask Robert Meyer Burnett about that when it comes to Star Trek as well. So do I think it's good when they let people put up fan films? Yes, I think that's good. Do I feel negatively when they enforce their rights to say, this is our property, you can't just go and make stuff with it? I don't really have a problem with them doing that either. So I'm glad they removed the copyright strike.
Yeah.
Apparently they said it was just an algorithm thing, whatever, whether it is or whether it isn't.
'Cause it's been up for 13 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's what I was
So-
gonna say.
But
And
again,
they
but
do
them
do their due
saying-
diligence too. The opening of it is, this is absolutely a fan-made film that has no relation to Warner Brothers, to Peter Jackson's film. It's a whole
Oh, they edited
diatribe
it?
at the beginning.
That person edited
It's
it?
always been there.
Oh, it's always been there.
This is not licensed by these people. This is purely made by us. This is for nonprofit, and they have that whole disclaimer at the beginning.
But
So
that
I will
doesn't make
credit
it
them.
legal.
No, for sure not. But they did try to
Yeah.
be like, we're not trying to make you think this is Peter Jackson's work.
And I did that too with my fan film.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who's made films. I totally understand it. I mean, but like, to your point about it's been up for 13 years, them allowing it to happen for 13 years does not obligate them to continue to allow you doing it.
Sure. It was just one of those like, oh, the day that it gets announced, it gets pulled. Okay.
But which
get
actually
that.
then makes
I
sense.
get that.
We're now making a movie with this same title, and you got something flying around out there that's of the same title. Again, I think it is good when any studio lets people do their fan films and stuff like that. I think that's a good thing. I would encourage them to let them do that. But it is completely within their rights to protect their IP. So I will cheer them when they let us put our fan films up, but I don't hold it against them when they say, look, this is you don't own the Gollum character. You can't just go and make Gollum stuff. I don't hold that against them. I just don't. And I know that's an unpopular position to take, but that's how I feel about it. And I think a lot of people would feel differently about it if it was their intellectual property.
Sure.
So we'll see. All right. What's next?
Sorafan says, also doing a double feature of Fall Guy and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What a time to be an AMC A-list member.
Oh, that's a good double feature. It's a long double feature because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is pushing on 2.5 hours long. Time flies by, in my opinion. Fall Guy is well over 2 hours. And that movie is too long. That's my one knock on Fall Guy, is that it's too long for itself.
Mine was the same for Kingdom. I hope the order you're watching it in is Kingdom and then the Fall Guy. It's just for me, I like leaving the theater in a happy,
on a lighter
happy mood, so hopefully you'll like both of them.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Suthius, who says, if y'all need a good chuckle, check out the 5 minutes of Perry's interview where she learns to ape around with Duran Teague and movement coordinator Elaine Gauthier. The music just makes it funnier. I guess Perry must have done a celebrity interview.
Oh, fun.
Honestly, Perry Nemiroff is honestly one of the best people that I've ever worked with when it comes to the business. I've had the privilege of working with guys like Schnepp, King of the Sweaties for all time. Guys like Christian and Mark Ellis, who just so funny and such a great, unique perspective on the business. And guys like Dennis But Perry, I think, was the one person who's ever worked with me that I could truly point at her and say she was a film journalist. She was truly a film journalist.
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
And she's great at it. And I just think she's wonderful.
Can I tell you a quick story? I didn't know anything about her when she first came into the Collider studio. So I remember telling her how to be like when she went up there because she was going to be a part of the show. And it just makes me laugh now because she knows exactly what she's doing. I was like, don't be nervous, explain, talking to this and that because, I kind of knew how our audience would be.
Yeah.
So I was kind of giving her like, if you see a comment about this and that, I was giving her pointers, but she knew exactly what she was doing as soon as she got up there. I was like, it just makes me laugh.
She's amazing. I got to do a show with her and it was just a masterclass.
Yeah.
Like, this is knowing your points, knowing how to so eloquently discuss them, make your point of view known while also honoring both sides of, any kind of Hollywood story, giving everyone the facts while still inserting your own opinion when necessary or when called for. Like she's so good.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't share
Don't.
this, but I'm going to. But I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to. Like, Perry is kind of like a Tom Hanks. Where
Everybody loves her.
Everybody loves her.
Yeah.
And when there are the odd people who don't, you kind of look at them a little bit weird. Like, how can you not like Tom? There was one person who worked with me who did not get along with Perry and was constantly complaining to me about Perry. And I was just like,
I'm so excited for this tea off air.
I'm not going to say who.
She wasn't me. She was my Schmodown partner.
But like, do you know how, it was Jonathan Voico.
Yeah.
No. And it was like, do you know how ridiculous you sound? Like whenever this person came to me, was like constantly complaining. I'm like, do you realize how ridiculous you sound? But it's just, so Perry's great.
Also, I was at AMC theaters and, they have little TV set up with interviews and stuff. She does interviews for them. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. She does a bunch of that stuff now because she's great at it. Yeah.
All right. She's everywhere, man. Good for her.
So we got member chats now. So Damaris
And
loves,
no, Mr. I was not Jeff Schneider. Jeff liked Perry very much. All right, what's next?
Damaris Love says, with Frank Grillo now in Peacemaker season 2, will there be a reckoning between Peacemaker and Flag Senior?
Oh, no doubt. There's got to be. I mean, I know Ray wants there to be a comeuppance for Peacemaker.
No, there's no coming back. I'm skipping season 2 too until you bring him back to life, Peacemaker.
Well,
Don't you
actually,
want to see his dad avenge
no,
him,
but
though?
actually, I don't see how that happened, right? Because the Suicide Squad is from DCEU and it's a different world. And even this
Oh,
Peacemaker is not canon with the last
Oh yeah,
season.
maybe in this new
So,
DCU,
Flag
this
is still
Peacemaker
alive.
never killed Rick Flag.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Rick Flag might be back, Ray.
Yeah.
Rick Flag may
Do we
come
not
back.
allude to that death in season 1?
Yeah, but season 1 is
Yeah,
not
but
canon
they
to
said it's
season
not going
2.
to be a part
Yeah,
of canon.
season 1 is not canon to the new
That
DCU.
come- yeah.
That my brain hurts.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know.
I don't like that.
I know.
All right, what's next?
All right. Yane Moore says, hi, John and crew. I just read from Variety that Sanada signed a deal, with FX for a possible return to Shogun Season 2. Personally, I think it's fantastic news. Do you think it will be announced in a couple of weeks? Well, it was announced.
Well, no. They haven't officially announced that they are doing it.
Oh.
They've announced that they've signed Sanada on to executive produce and star in a season 2 if they do it. They are mulling
I
changing
see.
categories because if they do a season 2, they have to move out of the limited series category into the drama category. The next thing up is they've got to get their writers back.
Oh, so so the way it works sometimes is they actually get a presentation going and then they okay the next season.
Well, it happens with movies all the time.
I didn't know.
Like in
I
movies
had
all
no
the time,
idea.
like a producer will come along and decide, I want to do this movie. And they'll find an actor or two to attach their names to it to
Right.
make it more
Okay. That's how they
attractive.
sell it.
Yeah. So they've
Okay.
got Sanada on to do a season 2.
Oh, wow.
Now, hopefully they will announce an official moving on season 2. I wouldn't expect it in the next couple of weeks, but maybe before the end of the year. I hope so. At
How
any
important
rate.
is Anna? Getting Anna back on.
You can't. She's dead.
Oh, I never watched. Well, I guess
Ray.
that's a no gun.
No gun.
I guess I don't.
That's a no gun
I
for
don't
me.
know.
Oh
I
no.
guess no.
Let's
Sorry.
just say it'll be challenging getting her back.
Well, it's important for anybody to sign Anna Sawa. Then.
Yes. Anybody
So why?
could be signing her. She's going to be a huge star in the next few years. All right, what's next? No gun.
Dildar says, Maze Runner wasn't for me, but I'm keeping my eye on Wes Ball after the incredible work he did on Apes. So excited for his Zelda movie.
I am also not a huge fan of the Maze Runner, but I knew from day one when they made that I was not the target demographic. That being said, I didn't mind the first Maze Runner. I actually thought the first Maze Runner was pretty okay. Like I didn't really like the other ones, but
You didn't like the one with Rose Salazar, Alita, the last one?
was she in that one?
Yeah, she was in the last one, I believe. The last.
I
Maze
just
Runner
remember
that they released.
Littlefinger pops up in it at some point and whatever. But
I enjoyed all of them. I think.
after seeing what he did with King, because I said this yesterday too, and Chris, I want to know what you think about this, but a big important thing in making this Planet of the Apes movie is understanding this is a period of time, really a world that we've never seen before. This like 5 generations after the death of Caesar, centuries before the events of the main Planet of the Apes movies. So he had to build a world, introduce us to what society and culture are like here, what the characters are like here, all that kind of stuff. These are all the same priorities he's going to have in doing A Legend of Zelda. He's going to have to build that world, get us to understand how this world functions, what it is. And if he can bring what he did with Planet of the Apes into Zelda, I'm very excited.
He's great at world building. He's excellent at it. And he also, like we talked about last week, he has that strong VFX background
Yes.
of doing that kind of work before he transitioned to being a director and leading a project. So I think not only does he have a great understanding of the storytelling aspect of building those worlds, he visually understands how you need to make them look realistic and grounded and like something that actually exists as a society, not something that initially is fun and shiny where you go,
Right.
oh, this is lived in. This
Yeah.
is really, really well executed.
And if you think about some of the best scenes in the first Maze Runner with all the ground pieces moving, like that's perfect for a Zelda movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
We got Sir Malmstens, who says, Adam Driver's character in Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis appears to have the power to stop time. Will the film find a distributor?
Let's do it, John.
Okay. I'll look, will it find a distributor? I don't know. All I can say is right now it's not looking good, because everybody who has seen it, to be kind, the kindest has been, I don't know what the path forward for this movie is. The meanest is like, this thing is garbage. Like I have not yet heard. Remember, I've not seen the movie myself. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm just saying everything I've heard from those who have is not good. And so I don't know if who's going to step up and pick it up. It might be a straight to streaming thing.
So just to be informed of the way things go, they're showing the completed,
Yes.
the one they want to release.
Yeah, they made a movie. Now they're trying to find a distributor.
So, but that's never happened where the distributor says, "Hey, I like this, but change things." Does that ever happen?
Yeah, that has happened. I mean, that's what film festivals are.
Yeah.
Producers take their movies to film festivals, hopefully that a distributor will see it and want to buy the movie and distribute it, right? And there are definitely times. I mean, listen, I had it happen where one of my little diddly movies, I got a distributor for it, but they told me a few things that they wanted done changed, to which I said no, because I can't afford to do that because I would have to pay for it myself. And so I got somebody else to distribute it. But yeah, that definitely happens on the upper side as well.
Okay.
But what a distributor won't do is say, change us from a bad movie to a good movie. Like little changes, like, oh, take that, any scenes that involves this, just take them out or something like that. Minor things, but like something that would fundamentally need you to completely change the movie. No, they'll just pass on it. And
No,
go on
I
to
was
something
thinking
else.
about more smaller scale, like VFX is half done, but you get to see the
Oh,
scene.
yeah. That stuff will happen all the time for sure. And sometimes movies get picked up for distribution. Actually, it happens in the bigger leagues that movies will get picked up for distribution before the movie even gets made. That'll happen a lot too. But for a lot of these movies, you make the movie and then you try to find a distributor.
Self-funded movies.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Logan Vaughn says, will we ever see a Wreck-It Ralph 3? I would like to.
No.
but-
I would be down for it. I would be I love those movies. But I think its era has come and gone.
Yeah, I do too. I'm kind of over them.
I'm not over them. I'd love to see another one, but I don't think there's a demand for it anymore.
But it feels like Vanellope has her ending.
Yeah.
In that
Yeah.
movie.
I agree.
Real quick, John. You know what was missing from our CinemaCon? That one that I was excited for in terms of animated, the Elio movie. Remember that Elio's the space?
The space one, right?
We didn't see anything. No
Because
posters. Did it get canceled?
No, I don't think it didn't get canceled. They pushed it out. Didn't they push it out like another forever? So it wasn't going to come out in theaters this calendar year. I think that's what it was. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I think happened. Anyway. All right, let's take two more questions. What's next?
All right, Espinoza.
Yeah, sorry. Hayden is putting it, they pushed it to next year. And at CinemaCon, they only show you what's coming out in the next 12 months. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
All right, Espinoza says, my favorite game show to watch when I was a kid was Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
That was good.
When Chris Pine hosted SNL, they made a parody of that show, but instead of Carmen, it was Kellyanne Conway.
Oh, no.
Nobody wanted to find her.
I'm going to watch that after.
Oh, I forgot about
Look that
one.
up.
All right, what's next?
All right, the Richards art says, aloha, guys. Since we are speculating on Fantastic Four, what are the chances that this first outing is more like a classic episode of Lost in Space? I can't recall which came first, the comic or the show. I could see Malkovich as Dr. Zachary Smith type. Keep it sleazy breezy.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think I don't think they're going to do a Lost in Space kind of thing. I really don't. It looks like this poster has our Fantastic Four in a different world. They're in a different universe than ours.
It's a different
And it's ultimately going to end with them coming into the 616, which is our MCU that we're in. So I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Chris, what do you think?
I feel like we're going to do some far out other universe kind of stuff. Rob and I speculated about this back when we were doing Weekly Hero, that they were going to borrow from Full Circle, the latest Fantastic Four comic from Alex Ross, because it has that very, very fun 60s throwback art style. The colors are very psychedelic. The storyline is wild. I feel like it's going to be more otherworldly than borrow from Lost in Space, which is
So you think
family
they might-
stuck floating through space
It would
kind of
be
stuff.
different because one was magic, one science. But do you think they'll get kind of like crazy how like that first Doctor Strange was, which is kind of like weird?
I really hope so. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just really envelop us in that kind of their very bombastic science.
And speaking of Fantastic Four, and posters, they did release a couple of posters that I just noticed right now.
Oh,
Like some more
Like
posters.
ones that you're just noticing or ones that have just dropped?
I don't think they just dropped because I actually used one for one of our
Oh, okay.
segments. But yeah,
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend ahead of you, filled with hanging out with friends or family, or maybe a more low-key one, just curled up on a couch reading a book. Whatever you need to have to recharge your batteries for another week of triumph and victory next week. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
have a good weekend. Be
Jonathan
safe.
Voico,
See you next week.
Chris Carr.
bye guys.
Guys, we're going to have an open mic a little bit later this afternoon. Keep your guys' eyes open for that. We'll be dropping that later this afternoon. Hopefully you guys will join us. If you just feel like hanging out a little bit more and casually chatting about movies and entertainment before we go into the weekend. My name is John Campea, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.